welcome back. Welcome back. Are you coming back? Is this your first video? That's a good question. I should have done that drink before. We're going to get right into it in like a few seconds. Basically, this is a reaction to the reactions out there and new information that's outside of the lawsuit between the lawsuits and complaints and everything between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively and their different teams and people and stuff. So I'm going to get right into that, and then I'm going to also read Blake Lively's whole lawsuit on YouTube on this video, not on this video, in the next video. Yeah. So, oh, I didn't have my mic on. Hopefully you heard some of that. This is one of those absolute emoji moments. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I had read Justin Baldoni's lawsuit or complaint versus Blake Lively et al. On both sides, everyone else involved. And I want to do kind of a highlights reel of that, of my reactions, or just pluck out the things that stood out to me initially and just do a reaction video. But I combined it all and I thought it was 6 hours, but it was 10 hours. So I don't know who's going to watch that, but I have not seen that yet anywhere besides maybe Patreon and stuff. I put it age restricted because of the language, and I believe that it should be 18 and over, but I don't know if there's other stuff. I was literally just reading a legal document, so anything that goes into that goes into that. Anyways, let's get into it. Starting with, oh, there's so many reactions. There's so many, and I hope this is not too loud. I don't know. I was trying to figure out. It's still, again, it's only coming in on one side, one channel, the left channel. I'm sorry if that's the case. Don't listen to this in the headphones, but it's still, even on my laptop, I noticed it this past time, so sorry if that's the case. I changed it, so I hope it's not the case, but all right. I'm gonna start with a Megyn Kelly video featuring Maureen Callahan, a columnist or a columnist for from the Daily Mail. What's the difference? I both. Anyways, and I came across this video. This was the last video I saw on reactions to this lawsuit, and however people think about Megyn Kelly, because I know she's really, she's a controversial figure. I've loved her coverage on this. I've loved the questions that she had for Brian Friedman. I think she missed a couple of things, but it wasn't like an all perfect interview. There is no such thing as perfect, but I think she tackled some things and she was quite fair in asking some things that even people that were on Blake's side would be asking, like, hey, you're saying this, but where's the proof, or do you have proof, or why are you saying it, or whatever. I don't know. Watch that video. Excuse me, but this specifically, it's just a short video between these two women, and they mention just again the overall highlights of the lawsuit. I think it's really important for you to read it or listen to it being read, because there's so many details and nuances. And also keep in mind that if you're feeling triggered by anything, step back, breathe, and check in on, are you now entering a biased lens on type of state that you're reading this from on either side. And I feel like, even though I've said I lean more towards Justin's side of things, as far as overall stuff, I am still just on hold as far as what Blake alleges. Maybe I'll have more of a stance after I read her whole lawsuit. And you might say, well, that's why you're not on her side. I read her allegations. Anyways, we'll see. Maybe. However, just because I'm leaning one way or another, or depending on the issue, does not mean I'm not open. So stay open and be careful to not internalize and anything that's like relatable, like, oh, I went through this. This guy's like my ex. this girl's like my ex. They're like my mom, dad, brother, sister, uncle, friend, whatever, boss, etc. Just try to focus on this case on its own because it is so nuanced. It is so, I feel like it's such a great case because it talks about so many things and they're all interconnected at the same time. They're also kind of standing alone and there's like different things. I don't know. They should make a movie about this. Honestly, they should make a movie. If they do make a movie, however, about this, it's going to be one of those crappy, kind of like Unreal. Remember that show? Kind of like that, right? Unreal. The one that's kind of, it was on MTV, I think, and it was about basically The Bachelor. Anyways, okay, so let's get into this. I'll link the video below to this and other videos and articles that I mentioned. So I will talk specifically not about all the highlights and reactions, but a couple of things. The first one being Taylor Swift's, their comment on Taylor Swift. That one comment that I found very interesting and that kind of, I don't know, it sort of relates to this whole thing. Obviously, that's why they said it, and also Taylor's representative or like source, whatever, but basically Taylor, what she had to say in reaction to this. I will start with, which one do you want to start with? Say in your mind which one. This is not like, oh, you're like, we're communicating psychically. This is just like, I kind of don't believe in that anyways, but this is just, I don't know, for fun, as I do an eeny miny mo over here. I'll start with Taylor's statement, source, but yeah, you know. And I say this because Swiftologist, if you've seen his videos, he clearly kind of states nothing gets out there. There's no source that's not directly from Taylor. She has a very, 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 very curated, very tight locked image control situation. And yeah, who knows the skeletons in her closet that may never come out because even though Blake is huge, she's not that huge, that controlled, but she does have Taylor on her side. And you'll see from this statement, okay, because yeah, okay. Anyways, just getting into it. So this is from the Daily Mail, UK. Taylor is proud of the film because her music was featured in it, which hurts. It makes the food not go down. Just this first sentence. Ew. Which gave her a sense of involvement, though she wasn't fully aware of the extent of the project's developments. She is confused by the claims in the suit, as her connection to Blake is purely a friendship, with no interest in influencing or controlling Blake's projects. The source insisted, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the source insisted that Taylor did not purposely plan to be there during the meeting. Either way, potato. Okay, sorry, I'll just read first. Instead, they said she was simply coming over to hang out with her pal. Her pal. Who uses that word? Who is this person? But arrived. I'm sorry, that buddy would have been a better word. Pal? Okay. But arrived with the meeting while the meeting, which was supposed to have been wrapped up, was still going. Also, that wasn't, you could say that wasn't a meeting, but anyways, it was at Blake's penthouse. Just saying. She finds Justin's interpretation of the encounter perplexing, and those close to her suspect she's being drawn into the situation as a means to target Blake, the insider continued. This was the first time that Taylor ever met Justin. She had no idea who he was, and Taylor was simply being polite. She was polite to him as she is to everyone she meets. I had a visceral reaction to this of, ew. Like, there's little in this whole way, the way that it's phrased, that sounds nice, sweet, kind, any of the above. So I want to kind of break down my reaction to this, my thoughts, my opinions. These are all my opinions. All of this is my opinion, except for anything that I read directly from another source. That's their opinion or facts or whatever. Gosh, where do I start? This could be a video on its own, honestly. So for Taylor, for anyone to be proud of a movie, and I don't know if they're saying she wasn't aware of the drama on set, let's call it drama, or she wasn't aware of the movie, like she didn't really know anything about the movie. Neither of those sound good necessarily. Well, I guess if she was not aware of the drama, show of hands, comment below if you really believe that. As her friend, as her pal, what kind of gross word? Not a gross word as a whole, but in this situation, how old is she? 50? Not even 50. That's like an 80-year-old pal. Between guys mainly. Anyways, so she is friends. Some would say best friends. Whatever. She is very close friends with Blake. There is absolutely no way that she didn't know anything. Okay? Maybe not at that point, but because maybe it didn't happen, or maybe nothing happened to that point, to that time, to that, oh my gosh, I hate when this happens, to that moment, but up to that moment, but still absolutely no way that she didn't know. And as far as the movie, I hope she knows that she's just not giving her music willy-nilly, even if it is for a friend. But that might be it, and that might be why she was backing up Blake, and that might be all of that, because she was just blindly doing so, because like, oh, my friend, I trust my friend. And same with Ryan, right? I trust my wife. It could be that way. We don't know. With no interest in influencing or controlling Blake's projects. I mean, I kind of believe this. Yeah. I don't think she was involved in like the whole thing. Like, this is what you do, Blake, and this and that. And, I think, I don't know, because that's also all we know. It seems like that was the only time that she came into the picture, and it was like only to that extent. That doesn't mean that it wasn't planned, right? Or that she didn't butt in when she wasn't welcome there and it didn't belong, her butt in. Anyways, did not purposely plan to be there during the meeting. Honestly, I'm completely neutral on this. I mean, if they're friends, she could have dropped in, like, hey, I have this meeting, come by after, around this time, cool, bye, see you, or whatever. Or it could have been planned because, I mean, again, no one is more attuned that we know of. No one is more attuned to how to orchestrate stuff than Taylor and or her team. So, and yes, like you could say, oh, Mastermind, her song was just like irony, and like another song of hers, I forget. Look What You Made, no, maybe Look What You Made Me Do, or there was another one, or the video to that, where she's like poking fun at like stories of herself, or, playing with this character. No, it was that one with the pen click. I don't know, whatever. You could say that, but I feel like over and over, the songs that seem that way prove to be quite more simple than this whole orchestrated, like, oh, she's just exploring the character the public has of her, etc. Well, I think both can be true. Like, she could be taking it to the extreme. She's probably not like, this super mastermind that's like controlling absolutely everything. But let's be real, she is controlling a lot of the narrative around her and media, her sales and charts. And I mean, she's controlling the charts, which I'll come back to. But yeah, she finds Justin's interpretation of the encounter okay, stating the obvious. Yes, it is for him to target Blake in the sense of defending himself, because Blake kind of roped her in when she sent him that text message. I think the point, I mean, he had every right, and it made complete sense for him to share that, because, like, it's showing the amount of power Blake had in her corner. Not just her own personal self, which was a lot too, but also, like, exponentially with the people around her and the way that was worked. And maybe he doesn't have any clue if that was the extent of the interaction regarding all of this, into the extent of the involvement into this by Taylor Swift, or there was more. Maybe that was the only message. But my brain is like having a really hard time today. But Blake was saying very clearly that these are my two dragons. They have my back. They're in my corner, and they make sure that I get heard and listened to. So again, like, yeah, he made it public, sort of. However, she dragged her in to all of it. But it's not unlikely, or, it wouldn't be a stretch for anyone to blame and scapegoat the other person, then take responsibility. Anyways. And then the other part is, this was the first time Taylor ever met Justin. She had no idea. I love how, like, okay, this guy hasn't come out of nowhere. He's not out of nowhere. And he was so prominent into the feminist movement, or not movement, because that was like a while ago, but, the feminist area, podcasting and all that stuff. He was like strongly in that scene. Taylor being, or so she calls herself, a feminist, or maybe she doesn't call herself exactly a feminist, but keeps talking and alluding to how she empowers women and she's on women's side, even though she's not. I mean, she's selectively that way. There is no way for her to not have known about him. Did she ever meet him? Okay, no, but there's no way she had no idea who he was. No way. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. This might be an unpopular opinion. This might be, I mean, it is complete guess, you know. I just don't buy it for a second. She's very aware, and he, contrary to everyone on the internet, the main people on the internet saying, I've never heard of this guy. I didn't know he existed. This is his first movie, which is false. Was not that unknown. I'm sorry. Yes, he wasn't huge and he wasn't that powerful, but he wasn't like this person that just, this is his second movie, second project ever, and he's coming out of nowhere and all that stuff. No, no. I'm so tired of that narrative, and uh, yeah, I'm so tired of that narrative. And the people who say, oh, I had no idea about him, were like, I knew Jane the Virgin, but I didn't pay attention to this guy. Fair enough. I'm sure, you know, a lot of those people didn't. But no, no. And there's also no way that Taylor didn't know who he was by the time this meeting happened, because this wasn't like, oh, Blake just signed on, here's the script. No, like it was at least like a few weeks into pre-production. So there's no way that by that time, we'll see the timeline, but I just find it hard. Like even if Taylor Swift didn't know anything about him outside of this project, by that time she definitely knew about him. Also, by the way that Blake writes about their relationship in that one exchange, hers and Taylor's, I don't think she doesn't like say that many things to Taylor. I just don't think so. I don't know, but I might be wrong. This last phrase, like that first phrase, hurt. She was polite to him as she is to everyone she meets. I had this gagging reflex moment in the lawsuit, and I'm sorry. This is so like second grade. This is awful. You could have excluded that phrase and you would have been a whole lot better off. She was polite to him as she is to everyone she meets. Are we in second grade? That's what this reads. Are we in second grade? They do say this, I think, came a lot from like the Britney Spears and following her trajectory and stuff. They do say that people that are famous that get kind of stuck at the age that they became famous at, unless they do a lot of work and so forth. So yeah, it does sound like that one song she had, like her first album or first few albums were so trashing women. She even had to change in her re-recording the one lyric, her one song, because it was so bad. So, you know, I guess technically politically incorrect would be the term to use, but just morally wrong. She wrote that, and she wrote many things like that. And even when it was, and I'm not saying that they were specifically as that line was, but her sentiment was always like, blame the girl. The guy likes that other girl, blame that girl, put that girl down. Anyway, so this is the person that we're supposed to look up to and help us, guide us a little bit through who to trust, or feminism and women and, you know, morality and things. I can't get on board with that. But this last phrase, it is exactly like that song, You Belong With Me. Yeah, that song. A really like 16-year-old or second grader is a little too young, but like a 16-year-old. I might break this down because my brain and mouth are not working greatly today. I don't know, maybe because it's more reacting than reading. I don't know. In the video, Megyn Kelly's video, she mentions Taylor Swift's biased female empowerment. I don't know if she said that or Maureen Callahan, referring to, well, as one example, how she released a bunch of different formats of her album just to stay at number one against, among others, other female artists like Billie Eilish. I wrote that, but I'm reading what I wrote. It stays safe with blah, blah. Yeah. That's a strong point that got kind of buried. No one, did a lawsuit or complaint or anything. Just let it ride out. People said that. That's true. But what are you going to do? Just move on and, just be grateful that you have the fan base that you have, isn't paying attention to the charts. But yeah, she absolutely did that. She completely hijacked unfairly. She's been doing that from like at least Lover. I remember when she released like the 4 different Lover deluxe albums or whatever with the journal and clippets snapshots or whatever of her journals. Buy them all to have them all, because each one of those there were 4 different colors or whatever, and each had like different pages from her journals and different bonus tracks. I think that's morally wrong. I also believe that should be maybe not illegal to release those, but charts wise, awards wise, numbers wise, only the one album should count, not any deluxe version, not any other version except for the original. Like, it should be very monitored, and that's a lawsuit that needs to happen. I don't know when that will happen, because that was so terrible. And again, she does have a history. We can see a lot of things, and this is not about her, so I'm not going to go into that, and I need to do my research. But I've seen so many instances where I've seen so many people talk about her fake feminism or her selective feminism. And I've also, for me, I've seen personally like contradictions for her as far as social justice and bettering the world and so forth. So, again, I think she is so curated in her image, in her public image. It is quite fake. And this is why this like lawsuit interests me so much, that maybe it'll start to break that down, because we are so tired of being lied to. And that sounds like that phrase is often so much connected to like conspiracy theories or something, but we're just so tired of being lied to. Everything's an ad. You can't watch one person on YouTube or Instagram, anything on TV, without being fed ad, buy this, get this, do this. And all of those are sponsored. They're not like people, some are, but few people, comparatively, few people are genuinely like, hey, I tried this out, check it out, I really liked it. Or here are some software or hardware or whatever that I tried out, here's my impression of it or whatever. Everything's so fed to us. And as humans, I think I see a lot of resistance increasing on that, and a lot of burnout, and just people being fed up and having had enough and not wanting, and any little thing they can latch onto to make that stop, they latch onto. And I think this is what happened. I think this is kind of what happened with Blake Lively at the beginning. It was like, I feel like this past summer there was a turnaround. People started getting a lot more fed up with all the like product placement and stuff. Also because that has also increased a lot, or at least like exposure to it too also increased a lot, because YouTube started requiring you to say this is specifically a product that's sponsored. But I think that's, because she's like, oh, I'll promote my health hair brand and alcohol brand. So stupid. That was the stupidest move. And for her to scapegoat any of this stuff or use any of this stuff, let's say what she alleges as far as harassment is true, Blake, for her to use that because she made the mistakes of how she promoted this movie, and she didn't pivot and she didn't take accountability, and she to use something that, let's say, happened to her and was serious. That's not something that you should take lightly, right? You should also not use it. It's not moral for you to like use it to take control of a movie, to scapegoat how your press tour went wrong, how you said this and you said that and people hate you, and you were really bad in the past and people hate you for that. Like, right? Both of those things can be true. And yeah, I think just people in general are kind of fed up, not just with her. I think she might be at this point the mascot of this, but just fed up with the fakeness. We've accepted it even though we knew it was happening, but oh, it was nice, whatever. But I think right now we have been like ultra saturated with it. People, companies, etc., took it way too far on YouTube specifically. It's just like, we're like short circuiting. Like, stop, just stop. We just want genuine. You see like Tom and Zendaya, you see so many genuine celebrities, genuine people that get boosted and get a lot of love, even if they are maybe not the best people. Not saying that they are not, but I assume, or I would not assume, what's the word? I would bet that even people that they're okay, maybe they're not the best looking, maybe they're not the best speakers, maybe they're not the best actors or singers or whatever, maybe they're not just the best people, but they're genuine. I think people like prefer that. The other thing I want to say, and I will make a part two with everything else, but the other thing I want to say is it makes you think for a second. I forget if it was this or something else. The way that she handled the album being number one on the charts and everything makes you think a little bit of how Kanye West handled that whole, I think, VMAs, right? MTV Movie Awards, how he cut her off and said Beyonce deserved her award, not her. Like, you're very talented, Taylor, I think, but Beyonce had the best album, had the best video, had the best single, had whatever. It seems like she's doing the same thing in sheep's clothing that Kanye West did to her, to all of these younger women celebrities, or maybe not younger, but newer on the scene. Billie Eilish is also younger and newer than Taylor. I think she deserved a fair chance because a lot of people love her. I love her, I'm a fan, but a lot of people love her. She is rightly really big. There's so many other celebrities that, like, Blake is kind of stopping to enter her kingdom. And not just that, Beyonce as well. Like, it seems like to be at the top, you have to cut people at their knees, cut your competition at their knees. And that's not something that we should celebrate and admire and promote. Taylor has such good lyricism, oftentimes also music, like the instrumental part of it, the melodies and the creative parts of a song. And it's pretty cool to see like her curation of her albums, but it should stay there. Just, wouldn't you like also want to know just how much people like you and how much truly people appreciate you? And wouldn't you want to be worth what you're worth and not inflate that worth? I would always wonder, but how much people actually like me? But how much worth is my songwriting? I know those are, I don't think those are phrased correctly in English. I'm trying. Anyways, so this was kind of, yeah, I'll keep the other stuff because the other stuff is super Blake oriented only. And Ryan, I think that is all on Taylor Swift's reaction to the lawsuit, her being mentioned or alluded to, etc. To be continued in the next episode. And then, what am I saying? What am I saying? I'm sorry. It's one of those days where the brain and mouth equally just are not functioning. Excuse me. I'll see you in a bit.